Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to this evening's Brentford and Syon Area Forum. We have the agenda to the right and to the left of us. I'm Councillor Syon for Brentford East Ward, and Happy New Year to you all. We have no apologies for absence this evening, and is there any declaration of interest from any of us? No? Okay then, we've got quite a packed agenda this evening, and we're going to start with our smoke-free generation campaign and updates, and I'd like to now introduce Hannah Buckland from Public Health to give her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here as well. My name is Hannah Buckland. I'm the Senior Public Health Officer for Tobacco Control and Healthy Lifestyle in the Public Health team. And tonight I'm going to be talking about tobacco and smoking in Brentford and Syon. I'm going to talk about what's happening locally, why it matters, and what we have on offer in terms of support, which is all kind of part of our ongoing work in public health to improve health outcomes for the community. So just starting off with why tobacco control matters to us and to our community. Smoking, unfortunately, remains to be the biggest cause of preventable early death in the UK. And we know with smoking that it's not just about the person who smokes and about their health, but smoking also harms families, it harms children through secondhand smoke, so it's a big issue for us. And we also know that people in more deprived areas are more likely to smoke, and that this leads to widened health inequalities. So it's really important as a priority locally for us, but there's also a really big focus on tobacco and smoking at the moment at a national level. So the government very much recognises that supporting somebody to quit smoking is one of the best things that we can do to improve their health. So there's a big focus on kind of policy and investment into interventions to support people to quit. So you may well have heard of the tobacco and vapes bill that was introduced in 2024. It's expected to be passed this year, and this is really quite revolutionary. So it's a bill that will ban tobacco sales to anyone who's born on or after the 1st of January 2009. So anyone basically who's currently aged 17 or younger will never be able to be legally sold tobacco. So basically effectively be creating a smoke-free generation. By raising the age of sale by 1 year at a time. So really, really big policy, and obviously something we're very pleased about in public health, as it will have a really big impact on creating that smoke-free generation. And the bill's also looking at measures on youth vaping, which again is a topic that's often in the media, picking up a lot of attention at the moment, and also about kind of front-of-shop restrictions and retailer penalties as well. So I'll talk a little bit about that later. There's also some investment at a national level to support trading standards to crack down on illegal products, and again, I'll come on to that in a little bit. So very much an important agenda item nationally, but also very much for us on a local level as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about local data. I'll try not to bore you with too much today. This is the smoking prevalence trend over time. So the good news is that all of the investment that has been going into smoking over the years, things like the ban on smoking indoors, and all of that has led to smoking rates very much falling overall. You can see that downward trend, and Hounslow follows that trend also. When we look at the prevalence on a more kind of granular level, at the local levels, we can see, should I get closer? Okay, sorry, I thought that was making it squeak. We can see that Brentford and Syon actually have higher smoking rates than the borough average. So around 16.8% of adults in this area smoke. That's compared to 14.3% across Hounslow. And that equates to roughly 2,865 people. So those are the residents that we really want to target with support, help them quit and help them to improve their health. And this matters because we know that smoking is linked to serious health conditions, and it puts extra pressure on local health services also. So we've also got a map here where the kind of darker purple areas show the areas of higher smoking prevalence. And again, you can see here that some areas, so Brentford East in particular, have much higher rates, 25.8% people in that particular area. So again, it just shows where we need to focus our efforts and how we can use the data to show where we should be putting in more support. So what are we doing in Hounslow? You're probably keen to know. So we very much work together to reduce smoking across Hounslow. It's a team effort. We work obviously with the council, NHS, schools, police, community services. Everyone plays a role. Within Hounslow, we have a tobacco control alliance. So that brings together all sorts of relevant partners, as you can see listed there, and together we tackle smoking from all different angles. So we have stop smoking services in the community, in hospitals, NHS, we've got enforcement on illegal tobacco sales, and we've also got awareness of fire risk from cigarettes and things like that. So really across the board there's a lot of work going on, many activities. To focus us, we have 4 priorities on a local level, which are enforcement, smoke-free, youth vaping, and smoking cessation. So I'll just give a couple of examples from each of the areas. An example of the work that goes on in enforcement includes test purchasing. So that is where our trading standards team send in underage people to try and buy cigarettes or vapes from local shops, see which shops are selling illegally to minors, and then they use that intel from operations to conduct raids where they go in and they seize the illegal tobacco products and vapes. So really amazing work that the trading standards team do. Recently, enforcement teams seized around 5,000 illegal vapes, which were worth £30,000, and then they also took thousands of illegal cigarettes and other tobacco products too. So really important work, protecting our community and getting these harmful products out of circulation. Then moving on to the smoke-free agenda. So an example of the work that we do here is we recently ran a competition with local schools. It's probably a bit small for you to see the sign there, but we asked our local children to design smoke and vape-free signs. So the winning designs have been printed and sent out to schools, and those are getting put up around the school gates. So just really trying to encourage those smoke-free areas outside of schools to protect our children and young people. In terms of youth vaping, again, on that line of protecting our children and young people, we do a lot of work with schools on preventing youth vaping, supporting young people to quit vaping if they have started. We've got a dedicated page on our Healthy Hounslow website, and we've also got our Healthy Hounslow team going into schools, talking about prevention and trying to prevent young people from taking up vaping in the first place. And then finally, we have a lot of activity going on around supporting people who do smoke to quit smoking. And we've got 2 main offers, Healthy Hounslow and Swap to Stop, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail now. So starting with the Healthy Hounslow service, so this is our local stop smoking service. It supports anyone aged 12 and above who lives, works, studies or has a GP in Hounslow. It's a really comprehensive offer, so service users can get access to 12 weeks of nicotine replacement therapy, so those are things like the patches and the gum, or they can get a free nicotine vape, and they also get free one-to-one behavioural support. That support is offered via telephone, but also in the community. So we have a clinic very local to here, actually at Brentford Library, which is on a Friday from 10 till 2, and we have other clinics across the borough as well. We also have, as part of the service, a really good incentive offer, which is partnered with our Better Points app that we commission in public health. So if somebody quits smoking, with the Healthy Hounslow service, they can get up to £50 in incentives to do so, and that's in stages as they go through the journey, so not all in one go. And just a note to say as well that the service does support people to quit vaping also. So that includes young people, of course, but also if somebody has moved from smoking to vaping, the service can also support them to tailor that down to come off the vaping products as well. Sorry, bear with me. So this is just some feedback from service users. So you can see kind of key things that jump out here is that the service is really motivating, the advisors are very supportive, encouraging, knowledgeable. So people tell us that the support that's offered does really make a big difference. And the service, there's again some pictures there that show them doing outreach in various different locations. They do a lot of outreach in community settings, but also in workplaces. And they target areas where we know that people smoke, and they raise awareness of the service and they offer that support to help people to quit. We also do quite a lot of promotional activity to try and raise awareness of not just the benefits of quitting smoking, but also the service itself, so that people know that it's there. Recently, we promoted the service on the sides of bin lorries. We had stickers put on lots of the bins across Hounslow. We had the branding put on pharmacy prescription bags, so really doing everything we can to try and get the word out there, and that there is a service available and it's free to access as well. And then the other support offer that I wanted to talk about today is the Swap to Stop scheme, which is a government-funded scheme and new in Hounslow. So we launched this last month. And what it is that a smoker aged 18 plus can access a free vape kit via the council website. And that helps them to switch from cigarettes to vaping with the kit, and that's a much less harmful alternative for them. So they can sign up on the council website, the kit gets sent to their home, and then the refills also get sent to the resident's home as well. So a really good offer for someone who potentially doesn't want the full support of the Healthy Hounslow service, but maybe they just want to give a vape a try, see if it can help them, kind of no strings attached. So trying to make the offer a little bit more accessible to our residents as well. So thank you. That's just a kind of brief summary of all of the work that we're doing on tobacco control in the borough, including what's happening in this area. Thank you very much for listening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Hannah. Is there anyone that has any questions that would to be put to Hannah at all? Oh, yes, if you could just wait for the microphone, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation, really useful. But smoking is usually linked to mental health issues. What are you doing to help people with mental health issues to stop smoking or avoid smoking in the first place? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So we have linked in with the community mental health, the MINT teams, and we are setting up clinics within those settings, the community mental health settings. So I believe we've got one in the Hounslow Central location, and then we're looking to expand that to the other locations as well. So that's one thing that we do. And then obviously the service is universal, it's accessible across the borough. So it can be accessed by anyone. We do a lot of work trying to promote our services within different mental health settings. And that's our kind of main focus there.
Yes, gentleman at the back.
Out of curiosity, how much money is being spent per annum dealing with the smoking and vaping matter, the subject? Because obviously money has to be invested in it, and I presume it partly comes out of the National Health Service and partly out of the local authority budget. And I'd be interested to know how much has been allocated for this sort of initiative.
I'd be happy to answer. So we have different funding streams. So the Healthy Hounslow service, for example, is funded through the public health grant. But then we've also had for the last 2 years, we've had an additional grant called the Local Stop Smoking Services and Support Grant, which comes directly from the government. And that's been ring-fenced to fund additional stop smoking activity. So that grant has been around 380,000 for the last 2 years. And then the vape scheme, so the Swap to Stop offer, that's funded separately by the government in addition as well. So they fund the cost of the vapes that come through the scheme.
We had the lady over here who had a question as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. I was just curious about the source of the data. I think I caught on the bottom of one of the slides, it's primary care. Does that mean the surveys that are filled in with the GPs, or where did the numbers come from, in other words? Thank you.
Sure, so there was a little bit of a mix. So the first prevalence trend was national data, or data that's collected on a national level, but obviously local to Hounslow. What we find is slightly more accurate is our primary care data. So that's if your doctor ever asks you if you smoke, that they record that, and then that's the data that we have access to. So that's where some of the map that had the prevalence was that, and then the same with the different areas, that was primary care data as well. So it's data that we access on the questions that people answer, whether they smoke or not, so their current smoking status.
Any other questions? Yes, thank you.
Thank you for presentation. To be quite honest, unless they want to stop smoking, nothing you can do. You know that. I know that.
I'd be more than happy to provide some information about our services, but yeah, it's obviously absolutely no judgment and completely your choice, but we do have information on services here today if you would like any.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Hannah. We'll now move on to our next item on the agenda. So if we could just say thank you to Hannah for coming. Thank you. And I'd now like to introduce Sam Tilby from our team for update on Brentford High Street and the Brentford project presentation and questions. Thank you, Sam.
Evening all. Sam Tilby from the commercial properties team in Hounslow Council. I'm the investment property manager looking after the council's commercial stock. I put together some slides to talk you through what's happening in Brentford at the moment. So I'll just run through those now. So the council holds a substantial portfolio of commercial properties for non-operational purposes within the investment and HRA portfolios. They are made up of around 230 properties for income-producing purposes. They are mainly retail, industrial units, and includes Western International Market and shop parades like Brentford High Street. The council have been focused recently, I have been focused recently on ensuring as many commercial properties are let out to various businesses so that we don't have too many voids and keeping the areas active for local residents. These income producing properties can produce around £6 million per annum, so a significant amount of money. And the portfolio is very, very active. You can change around tenants, they assign all the time, so we have a fast-moving, wide range of tenants. There are also, within the property services, there are also operational properties, which consist of buildings that are used for statutory services, like libraries, leisure centres, community and public halls. And in the non-investment portfolios, we have some properties that are let out to third parties, which do also produce some income, but not there for solely income producing purposes, like sports grounds, community centres, children's centres, supported housing, allotments and parks, and car parks, and just land in general. The Brentford retail units, to give you a little update on that. So amongst the commercial stock, we've had the newly developed mixed-use building in Brentford, where commercial units sit on the ground floor. The building has several entrances known as Tinton House, Sonnet House and Hamlet House, but for the purposes of the retail on the ground floor, I will refer to it as Tinton House. There are 12 units in total, of which 3 are already occupied and 2 are actively trading as we speak, and the third is due to open in the very near future. The remaining units, there is progress at each different stages on them. So some are progressing their fit-out proposals on 3 of them. Other units are being marketed with our agents, and we have received offers and currently reviewing those and progressing them. So heads of terms are agreed on 1 unit, and we hope to have that finalised very, very soon, with the view of fit-out taking place over the next couple of months and opening in April. We have interested parties in a further 3 units. We are progressing those deals through our marketing agents, and again, we'll follow the same process of the fit-out to ensure that it's fitted out correctly and complete the lease details. We are still our marketing agents are still taking offers on the remaining 2 units, which they send through for our review and consideration with their expertise, and we hope to progress those soon too. But there are marketing details on some of the retail units down in Brentford High Street, so interest can still be expressed whilst nothing is set in concrete. I'm going to move on to 5859 High Street, just to update you on the building just not far from the High Street. The property has been marketed by Snellers and attracted a fair amount of interest already. The council, we are negotiating on final terms with one particular tenant, or interested party I should say, with hope to proceed to legal very shortly. We're unable to release any further information on commercial deals until they are signed, I'm afraid, because of the commercially sensitivity of the matter. Okay. That's missing. I did have another slide. No. Okay. I'm missing a slide. It's just on Waterman's Marina, just to give you a small update on the matters in hand down there. So there have been some recent events and a discussion with the developer and between the council and the PLA. They have taken a joint decision to end the current arrangement, which we are very disappointed in after all the hard work that has gone into pushing this development forward over time to get to the point that we have and then have to withdraw. We will be working closely with the PLA and other stakeholders in the very near future to discuss future options at this location. Apologies that slide wasn't included there. That's all the updates I have on the active portfolio in Brentford at the moment, so if there's any questions.
Just wait for the microphone. If you can ask questions through the chair, please. Thank you. Yes, Josh.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to ask specifically in relation to the commercial units, what criteria do you look at when deciding who to award to, and how do you make sure that it's in the best interests of local residents when deciding which businesses obtain leases and rent properties in the area?
Thank you. It's a combination of what interest is generated from the properties as well. So we do take into account some, is it a business that it is a local business that people would benefit from having in the area, or would it counteract with other businesses as such? But also it's about keeping a wide selection, so that it brings several different people into that area rather than just focus on the immediate people. But also it's about the commercial deal itself. These are income producing properties and they are there for that purpose as well. So the council needs to factor all of these in when taking a decision. But it's generally also around who's interested in the property. You may have several, like Tinton House, for example, you've got several different sizes down there, so you'll have businesses that will be interested in certain sizes. They may not wish to proceed, although it may be a very good business for the area. It may not be that the property is suitable for them, so they may decide to withdraw, and we'll move on to the next and try and get the best we can.
Hello, my name's Bob Smith. I'm involved in Brentford Voice, as one or two people know. I view what has happened, what I call Block D, I'm afraid I can't get used to the new name, as being very sad. The retail spaces have sat empty since May 2023, and we now have 3 units in there, none of which look they're very vibrant in terms of the future high street. So just to say, I think the slowness of getting people into that unit has actually damaged the development of the high street. That's piece number 1. Piece number 2 is I'd be very interested to know who not by name, but by function, does the negotiation with potential tenants. Because the messages I'm getting is it keeps on changing. So who makes the final decision on the council side, who therefore negotiates?
Okay, so our marketing agents will bring, in the first instance, to myself any interested parties, along with any offers that have been made. Apologies. So yeah, in the first instance, the marketing agents will bring the information to myself, along with my director, who is the Director of Asset Strategy, for consideration. They will put forward their recommendations to.
That's your commercial team, right?
Yes, that's correct. The commercial team within the council.
All I can say is that for one case, and I won't say which one it is, it was very slow. In the end, the people concerned walked away because there were on too many occasions there was things changed from the council side. Last one from me. You know I'm not entirely happy about what has happened so far. Is there a view from the council side as why it's been so slow to get people, organisations in? I know it's a difficult time economically anyway, for retailers and for customers.
Yes, certainly. I must stress that the property needs to be right for the tenant. Now we have progressed with a number of tenants who have then looked at the properties, got fit out people down there, and then made the choice that it's not fit for them. So that happens, I'm afraid. There's a lot of money that goes into a business, I'm sure you appreciate, and then they weigh up and they look at the area, they look at whether their business will survive, and they decide whether that property is right for them before they invest heavily into a property. So, unfortunately, these things do happen. We are working with a very knowledgeable marketing agent who have made some really good recommendations to the council. As I said, unfortunately, I can't share any of those details because they are commercially sensitive, but I can reassure you, we are progressing deals behind the scenes, and I hope that you guys will, and the local area will see the benefits in the near future.
Thank you, Sam. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam, for the presentation, and thanks for your work on this. And I know it's been a long and difficult task and is still ongoing. I wondered if you could give us, I know you can't tell us names of prospective tenants until everything's signed and agreed, and so I'm not asking you to do that. I was just wondering if you can give us a flavour of the types of businesses or that you're talking to now. I know we very much wanted to have local businesses and give local businesses a chance to take up the units that were available, and that was perhaps where our marketing strategy started, and we did have interest from quite a few local businesses. A lot of those unfortunately have dropped out, moved on, gone elsewhere, and so are we now, are you now talking to a mix, or is it mostly, you know, larger businesses rather than local ones? What's the sort of, what do you think it's going to look like based on the conversations that you're having at the moment?
Thanks, Councillor Dunn. Yes, they were, originally it was mainly local businesses, and then yes, some of them did fall away. We are now in talks. I don't want to say this too much, but I can't release too much information, but we are in talks with some national operators, as well as local and newly upcoming businesses, and some of them in the well-being operative side of things, which I'm excited to see come forward. Yeah, it is a mixed bag as well of different types of businesses.
Thank you, Sam. Alderman Collins would like to speak.
Thank you. Yes, it's Honorary Alderman Collins. I think it comes as a devastating blow right at the beginning of 2026 with the news that we've lost the possibility of Waterman's Marina. The question I have is related to it in a way, and that is, what impact is this going to have on the units on lots A in terms of their retention, but more importantly, their enhancement and perhaps encouraging further development within the confines of preserving the conservation area in the southwest corner of Lots 8, which is an absolute must.
Thank you. Lots 8 is really not within my remit, I'm afraid, so I don't have too much knowledge. I picked up on the Waterman's Marina when my previous director left, so I've been focusing on that and trying to push that through as per the agreement in place. Sorry, Councillor Bowring?
Councillor Bowring can...
Yeah, just to jump in, Mel, there was a prospective planning application to build on Lots 8. There's a lot of restrictions on Lots 8. As you say, there's conservation areas, there's some type of rare snail, I believe. But the most pressing issue is it's located in flood zone 3B. For those who don't know what flood zone 3B is, that's something that floods a lot. So it's not really a suitable place to build beyond what's on there. So the likelihood of things being built on there in terms of a major development, there's possible chance of improvement to the boatyard, which we'd really support. They do the Cornish gigs there. It's a fantastic thing. If that was possible, that could go through. But in terms of large-scale development, it's very unlikely. And even this prospective historic application, it was focused away from the northwest side of the site anyway.
Okay, yeah, if we can... Sorry, Martin.
Thank you. Is there any flexibility in thinking of how you let out these retail units? I'm thinking in particular of Bradshaw's Yard with the Duke of London, where he has multiple occupants in one unit. That seems to be a bit of clever thinking, and I just wonder if any of that's come into your reckoning of how you go forward.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. This if they work, and it can be a really good idea. I've noticed that there's one of the similar ones in Hounslow as well. It's not something that is on our forefront of our minds at the moment. Ideally, it would be, in our view, to get one occupier in each unit. But yeah, there's nothing to say that we can't revisit that and consider that for future use.
Forgive me for asking this question, but with the number of vacant units, you say some are subject to fit out, but I imagine in principle terms must have been agreed for every unit that's subject to fit out. What occurs to me is a number of these units, you have to offer them concessionary rents to get them to take the space initially, because they don't know until they get here what sort of marketing and what success they will have in Brentford. Are you offering concessionary rents for, say, 12 months to prospective tenants to make it entice them to come, and then if after 12 months it hasn't worked out, then they can walk away from this, say, having already fitted out? Because I know there was one unit on the Ballymore development where they managed to negotiate concessionary rents, and it proved that it wasn't viable, so they walked away. And it just occurred to me that on the high street, that is one place where concessionary rents might be more enticing to get people in, because we've already got 2 hairdressers, and I can't believe that that's a real money earner, because looking at the number of people going to these hairdressers, they must have a limited income generation that they can apply to rents. So could you give me some update, or give us an update as to whether you do offer concessionary rents for an initial period?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's not so much concessionary rents, but as part of a commercial deal, we can offer negotiate a rent-free period or a reduction in rent. You know, it depends on the circumstances and the offer originally put forward. It's part of the commercial negotiations. So, you know, if it depends as part of their fit out as well. Some people decide that they want to leave it in a very retro open plan fit out, in which means they're not going to invest greatly into a property. They may see that you know, they may not want to negotiate such an extensive deal because they want a short-term lease, for example, rather than an extended period of lease. So, but yeah, absolutely, the council always considers, not just part of Brentford High Street, but with any commercial deal we do, we consider any offer put forward and negotiate it from there.
Thank you. I think it's wonderful that we have a choice of hairdressers actually in Brentford, because they all do differently. So as a female, you know, some people will be doing balayage and highlights, and others will be doing beauty treatments. I think that's really good that we've got a choice. We've always had a choice in Brentford as well with regards to the hairdressing salons. Councillor Lambert.
Thanks, Marina. I just want to question the way this has been marketed. They're marketed by Levy. They've had on their website for many months, they've had 3 units on there, except yesterday they took them down, and today they've put them back up again. They've actually got about 8 units with to let on them, but they've never been on their website. It looks to me like there's no enthusiasm being shown. In addition to which, we were told right at the start there were 11 outfits committed to all 12 units, and we've managed to get rid of nearly all of them. And now we've got 2 actually in, one who's still struggling with some negotiation with the council. And that's well over a year after they were evicted from their previous home. And so my view, I mean, I don't know how this works, but it doesn't look to me like this has been done urgently, and it should be.
Thanks, Councillor Lambert. Yes, in the beginning, or I believe I wasn't involved in the selection process or at the time, but I believe that yes, there was a lot of tenants lined up for the majority of the units. As I said, you know, the council did not get rid of them. You know, unfortunately things change for people and businesses, and some did withdraw and fall away and decided it wasn't for them. You know, and we've taken the steps appropriately to get things back on the market. I'm not sure why you say levy real estates have removed some and then put them back up. They, in the first instance, were talking to, that it's what they do. They know the market. They were talking to their immediate contacts for us. You know, and we were progressing it that way. You know, we are very keen. It's not that we are dragging our feet. We're very, very keen. And I personally work with the tenants myself in progressing matters as quickly as possible and assist where possible. So yeah, you know, we are keen to see the units occupied and open and trading, but there are some processes that we need to follow, you know, before doing so. So those that have tenants lined up, the leases are agreed, but it's the fit-out process that can slow down the process sometimes. We're relying on contractors as well, the tenants are relying on contractors as well. So the council assist where we can, but unfortunately they're not our businesses, and we work with them as and when needed.
Just to be clear, my issue is that there are probably 10 or 9 on the market. Only 3 have ever been listed on their website, and they were all taken down last week. They've gone back today, and I don't think that's acceptable.
Okay, like I said, the marketing agents will be working with the close contacts that they have in the market before putting them live on the market to see what interest they can generate that way. I don't know what the hiccup was with removing them and then putting back on. That I'll pick that up with them, because that I'm glad they're back up.
Yep, just gentleman here, and then Mike.
Hi, I'm sorry. Thanks for the update on the retail units. That was helpful. And I did want to ask that question on Levi's, but you've responded. Thank you. The other question I wanted to ask very quickly was the former housing office that's been vacant since 2022. Any update on that? Because it's still derelict.
Yes, thank you. It was in the slide, just a brief update, but as I said, I manage a commercial stock, and this recently came over to my area to see whether we could let it out, and we do have an interested party. We are progressing matters with them, which I hope to progress legally very, very soon. Yeah, I'm very keen not to see empty buildings as well. The council want people in buildings. But yeah, I can't release any more than that at the moment, again, because of the sensitivity. But as soon as the council are able to release anything, we will release all the good work that's happening behind the scenes.
We'll just have one last question now for Sam. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your update. I've got two questions. Quite short ones though. First, is there a long-term ambition to do another deal with a company to develop the Waterman Park? Because it would be wonderful to see that done, and I think it has a lot of potential. I love what the council's done with making the park looking stunning. It'd be lovely to have that. And just the second one, I don't suppose, a bit of a cheeky question, you've got an update on the Waterman Arts Centre, the idea of the new arts centre, but the police station. Do you have any? I mean, is there? Do we know when we might see work being done, spades in the ground, that sort of thing?
Thank you. On the Waterman's Marina, yes, you know, we all want to see something down there. The council worked very, very hard in pushing the development forward. We are going to be meeting with the PLA. You'll appreciate they're involved being the river, along with other stakeholders, to move forward future options and discuss future options of what would be good to have down there. I don't have that insight at the moment, but again, as soon as the council have a way forward, we'll release that information once we know. On the Waterman's Art Centre and Police Station, I'm afraid that's for my colleagues in the regen and corporate side of things. So if you want to give me the details, I'll pass the question on. All right, thank you.
We can give you an update, actually. Councillor Bowring can give an update on the water centre.
Thanks for your question, Mike. I just thought Mike's being passed the mic. I'll leave that to you. So essentially, with Waterman's, one of the blockers was post-Grenfell, new safety regulations came in. There were other factors involved, but that's a sort of slightly sticking one. As such, an amended application, a Section 73, had to be put forward. Because of the nature of the development, the public interest, that's going to the Planning Committee almost certainly next month. So that'll be a great step forwards.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you all for your questions. We're going to now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our open forum, where you can ask questions to us. If we can, this will be meeting general issues relating to the agenda and other issues not on the agenda. If you can please ensure that the questions are through the chair, and if we can remain civil and polite to each other, that would be fantastic. Before we proceed to that, I'd just like to do some council award updates, and I will be starting this time from my colleague, Councillor Max Mosley. Yes, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I will just start with a brief update on the Waterman's Marina. We have just had a discussion about it, but I'll just add a bit of flesh to that discussion. Obviously, this is a pretty long-running saga that predates me being a councillor, so I'm reluctant to give you all a lesson in things that you know. But what I will say is, based on my understanding, what happened in the last few weeks was that the guarantor that is behind the developer went into administration, and the council took the view that there was too much financial risk associated with continuing with the existing project. And I'll echo Mel's comments to say that it is very sad that, unfortunately, after an awful lot of work, we are somewhat back to square one. But I guess the important message to say that we're not totally back to square one. One of the major blockers that has contributed to the delay has been some legal issues around the development and some changes to licensing. Those were completed, and I'm hoping, this is not my area, so forgive me, but I'm hoping that a lot of that work can be replicated to speed up the process for a future development on that site. So do watch this space. It is the council's intention, to go to Mike's question, it is the council's intention and the PLA's intention to develop that site. So hopefully, in a slightly more optimistic fashion, we can use this as an opportunity to bring some more voices together and have a fresh rethink of what this site could be. People do have thoughts on any concerns about that site or any ideas, fresh ideas, please do get in contact with myself or Councillor Sharma, and be a pleasure to take your views. I'll also just give one very small update from me. In our ward, both Marina and I attended the food bank at Claypon's estate. For those who are regular subscribers to my Facebook page, you'll know that we had a pretty good day. This was just before Christmas, and if you haven't seen this before, it is a pretty inspiring event. You know, Marina and I run our own food bank, but it's amazing to see the community provide their own in such a high quality. The queues were out the door, but there were lots of people who were able to get support at a pretty difficult time during Christmas, so it was really inspiring to see. And I just wanted to use this opportunity to extend, I think, our thanks and everyone's thanks on the council to Julie and her team of volunteers, and stress the fact that they are volunteers doing some pretty amazing work. So I'll leave it there on a more optimistic and happy note. Thanks.
Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Councillor Catherine Dunn, Councillor for Syon and Brentford Lock. So firstly, at our meeting before Christmas, there was consternation when I mentioned that the council wouldn't be able to pay for a Christmas tree. I promised that I would get a Christmas tree for Brentford Marketplace, and I did. massive thanks to Fairview Homes, who provided the tree, to Brentford Voice, who put on the market, the Christmas market, obviously Hounslow Highways for getting everything organised, and a myriad of other organisations and businesses and community groups and individuals who made Christmas what it was in Brentford and gave us something really to celebrate. So thank you to everyone who took part in that. What else? Sticking with Brentford Town Centre, obviously Block D/Tinton House, Sam's already given a pretty comprehensive update there. I mean, it is very disappointing as a ward council and as residents and people who use the town centre that those units aren't filled yet. The team are working hard to fill them, and you know, I'm glad that we have got some units open, and by the sounds of things, more of them coming along. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that as well. Obviously, there's also the Ballymore commercial units as well, and some changes there. People will have noticed that Sam's Larder, the coffee shop, has closed down. The good news is you can still get your coffee and pastries and things from Sam's in the main restaurant, but I was particularly fond of Sam's Larder and went there pretty much every Saturday and Sunday for my coffee. So I'm again disappointed about that. I hear they have got another tenant lined up, so I'll be interested to see how that develops. Obviously there are other businesses like the pub that are going to be moving in down there as well. I did quite a bit of work with the boat dwellers who've moved into Workhouse Dock, and they are all settled in nicely now, and things going okay for them. It was a long process. There were a lot of delays. There are themes developing here, but they are in place. That is a temporary move for them. They will be going back to where they were previously once that has been redeveloped, but timescales not quite sure at the moment. Another waterside thing that's happened, unfortunately, is, and many people are aware, at Brentford Community Boathouse at the Ferry Quays, Ferry Wharf site, there's been some falling out and disagreement amongst the different sets of trustees of the various organisations. That's not for the council to get involved in. Those disagreements will have to be worked out amongst the parties themselves and whoever they get in to help with that. I have spoken to trustees and met with trustees with Councillor Bowring and Councillor Lambert, so I've tried to hear both sides of the story, but again, I'm not getting involved in trying to litigate that at all. From a council perspective, obviously, we're very proud of what has been achieved by Team Keen and the Brentford Boat Club, and we want to continue to support as best we can water sports in the Brentford area. Exactly what form that takes, it depends on some of the fallout from this, but we are, they are and we are working to try and support that as best we can. So I think there'll be more news to follow in the coming weeks. And then I guess one last one, down the other end of the ward, West Middlesex Hospital, the ambulatory diagnostic centre, which is being built there. We've been having, Dan and myself, been having regular meetings with the hospital, and also lots of contact with the residents living in the immediate vicinity who are the most affected by the building works, although many of you will have been affected by road works not only from that but for all our many developments across Brentford and Isleworth. I know there's been a lot. But again, we do our best to try and coordinate those and make sure that the disruption is minimised as much as possible.
Thank you, Catherine. I would just like to reiterate our thanks, along with obviously Max, with regards to Julie and Clay Ponds and Jeanette and all the volunteers at Clay Ponds. Just before Christmas, I had a meeting alongside our estate development team and also the enforcement team with regards to continual fly tipping by Harnage House on Haverfield and the communal bins. They have been investigating and they are continuing to investigate. We seem to have fly tipping tourists that are coming from other parts of Brentford and leaving their rubbish in communal areas in the Metro stores. It's been proven. Fines have been given out to these perpetrators as well, because there are other means of finding who these people are. We actually, whilst we was there, we saw someone come from across the road with their black bag to put it into the Metro stores. We're having an issue with that on the estate at the moment, and I'm sure Honorary Alderman Mel Collins would be able to tell you about this as well, because it's very close to him and his patch. So we are still working. I'm still working alongside the team with regards to that. We need to start taking pride in place in where we live, and we need to start taking more accountability with what we're putting out. As a council, we have upped our fines for those that are fly tipping. And we are taking a zero tolerance approach to fly tipping, because we do want to have pride in our place. And we're also bringing in a new enforcement team to catch the criminals who make our streets a mess. And I'm sure, we want to live in a society with clean streets, litter-free, and without the scourge of fly tipping, which is not nice for anybody. Councillor Lambert?
Yeah, the main thing that I wanted to talk about is Middlesex women's cricket team, cricket arrangement. Middlesex have taken what used to be the Beecham's sports ground on Swinkham Avenue, and they are making it the centre for women's cricket in Middlesex. And this is apparently the first dedicated women's operation for cricket in the whole country. So they're very proud. I'm very proud. They will be bringing a planning application to replace the rather sad pavilion that was there for Beecham's. And they're going to try and do that. They'll be bringing that in the next couple of months, and they hope to build that over the next 2 or 3 years. They are also going to put, there's a dead old tennis court or two there. They're going to replace that with what they call a net dome with 3 cricket nets in it, but also padel courts for people, for the public to play padel on it, which is a kind of form of tennis. So that's very good. That will be a kind of basically a national thing. Apparently, all women currently, if they play cricket, they have to pay on Sundays because Saturdays are full of boys. This is really young women and girls. So that's very exciting, and I'm delighted that they've chosen Brentford, or in fact Brentford West, for this thing. The other thing that I've just heard in the last few days is Junction 2, which is a festival that's been running for several years in Boston Manor Park. They are going to carry on doing that, but they're going to do a much reduced perimeter of it, but for slightly more days. And I only heard, I sent out some information about that today. Last year we had something called Paradise in the City, which turned into hell in the city. And I'm pleased to say that has been sent to hell, so that won't be appearing. And the other thing, I want to say something about fines and fly tipping, because I have to point out that in the manifesto, we had a thing called the Special Waste Service, which was particularly pointed at dealing with persistent fly tipping. It was a service that I started with the officer who's still in charge. It was in the manifesto to put that across the borough, and it wasn't done. And there's only 2 people left doing that. Personally, I've dealt with, I think, 6 of these fines of £1,000 for alleged fly tipping. In not one case is it actually fly tipping. In every case, it's a bit of cardboard that's fallen on the floor from a recycling bin. In one case, it was somebody who put a bit of, who was not a council tenant, putting it in a council bin, and they were accused of fly tipping, told you've got to pay £1,000 within 20 days or you'll end up going to court and you'll end up in prison for up to 5 years, which has frightened a lot of people. Some people have paid it, others don't appear to be being progressed because nothing's happened for several months. So I'm very unhappy with that, and I'm making, I'm not getting any answers actually. Not getting any answers. There's one that came today, which is in your ward.
And that's been dealt with today, and it's reached a satisfactory conclusion today.
Have you?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I have.
Well, that's very quick, because she only just wrote to me this afternoon.
Yeah, and I responded back to her this afternoon. It's all been dealt with. So, Councillor Dennison.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree with you, Guy. I think there's a theme for me over Christmas. I had a really nice Christmas, I have to confess, and I don't feel guilty about it. I haven't had such a good Christmas in years. But an awful lot of people haven't had a good Christmas, and one of the things that seems to have been a problem, certainly for me, before Christmas and through into this year too, is firstly the fly tipping fines, and the fact that the council seems to be absolutely determined not to exercise discretion or common sense in dealing with it. You know, I've worked on anti-fly, I don't need you to intervene, I've worked on anti-fly tipping campaigns for decades. And the one thing that it
Sorry,
is...
Thea, I don't want to interrupt you, but can we keep it to the ward update?
It is a ward update. And one thing that everybody knows who does fly tipping work effectively is it is important to distinguish between the naughty people who are big-time fly tippers and the good people who will never do anything wrong in their lives, and then the normal people in the middle. And if you treat normal people in the middle like they are the criminal elements, then they will simply not only hate the council, but actually not respond well to a whole bunch of different things. And the cases that I've been dealing with seem to be in similar sort of numbers as you, Guy, have all been non-fly tipping events. And yet the council seems to be incapable of either believing the person when they said what has clearly happened, and actually using their discretion, or when they find that they are 60, 70 and 80-year-old residents who clearly aren't out-and-out fly tippers, who somehow or other seem to have fallen foul of this, they send them the nastiest letters I have seen since I used to look at the single-person discount letters, which were officious, red-inked, and intimidating. And that is unacceptable for a council. You know, the vast majority of this community are keen to support anything that cleans up our borough.
Sorry,
but
if I can just stop you there,
to be sensible.
We will raise this with the lead member. We will raise these concerns that you have with the lead member. and then we can come back to you.
And then on this similar
the rest
theme,
of your update
this similar,
for the ward.
this similar
Thank you.
theme, my update is all about, in essence, the misuse of authority. The fact that now parking enforcement is operating 24/7 in some of the most ludicrous places where no harm is being done.
Is this happening in your ward, Theo?
Of course it's happening in my ward. It's probably happening in everybody's ward. So disabled people, I'm going to a tribunal for one disabled person who was ticketed in the disabled bay that he asked to be put in for his use, which is right outside his home at 9:01, because all of a sudden the council has decided that 24/7 enforcement is what is required. And yet, council officers, the police and wardens have all recommended to residents, because of the spate of theft of blue badges, to bring their blue badges inside overnight. And the council is taking no cognizance of that whatsoever. And I really do hope on Friday when we go to tribunal, the council gets a good kicking for being so mean to decent folk.
And has this happened in Brentford and Syon?
Yes.
So, Councillor Dunn or Councillor Barry?
It's too late. It's going to tribunal on Friday.
Have you have an update
morning,
on this at all?
And it will be dealt with there. Okay. And then lastly, I had the pleasure of going outside my ward into yours, Guy, at County Court, and there's some really delightful people working at County Court. And if you pop down there to see them, they will tell you how busy they are at the moment with effectively eviction cases, a complete rash of eviction cases, largely, I think, inspired by the Renters' Bill, which has many good provisions, but also he's been implemented in an extremely ludicrously stupid way, which means that landlords are clearing house. And even my hairdresser is being threatened by her landlord.
So as they are in Guy's ward, and we've already had a Brentford West update, Theo, with all due respect, I'd like to now go on to Dan, please.
Thank you very much indeed. And it's only Brentford County Court that I was talking about that is not in my ward, but the cases going there are for everybody's ward, and I am very interested in those that affect my constituents, as you ought to be about yours. And the key there, and it's not just private landlords, it's social landlords as well, cleaning house, in order to avoid the implementation and triggering of the Renters' Bill. And I'd just like to urge those in authority, both in social housing and at the council, to exercise a little bit more common sense and sensitivity, dealing with the very sensitive nature of most of the people who are affected by all three of those enforcement type events.
Thank you, Councillor Denison. Councillor Barry?
Thank you. I'll be brief, as I'm sure you're all itching to get to the open forum. Catherine covered a lot of the stuff that we're doing. Just a couple of things to add. The recently installed playground in Robin Grove Park. Recently there was an issue with a resident bringing dogs inside the playground, and they insisted that it was fine because there was no sign saying no dogs. You'd have thought common sense would tell you that. Anyway, we've now got several signs up saying no dogs, and I've heard that the dogs haven't returned. This is more something that Brentford Voice are doing, but they've got the B line, which is the deserted railway to the west of Commerce Road. There's a feasibility study being done, and I believe the meeting's on the 27th, is that right? So if you go on to Brentford Voice on socials, on the website, I'm sure you can sign up for that meeting. That's here at 6:30 on the 27th to find out what's happening to the B line. I recently met with Smallbury Green School to discuss. They do a lot of SEND provision, a large amount, and some children with complex cases. So we're discussing how the council could support them in the delivery of that. Finally, last one, the Brewery Tap pub. As a councillor, I do not have a favourite pub in my ward. I love them all equally. But the Brewery Tap pub, it's basically situated within a building site amongst all the Ballymore work that's been going on, and there's fencing, and it's like people aren't going down there, or some people have forgotten it exists, or people passing through Brentford wouldn't know it's there. So the landlady at the Brewery Tap contacted me and said, could we get some signs put up in Tinton House saying Brewery Tap this way, pointing the way? And I sort of said, listen, I'll talk to officers, but it's likely to come with some you know, no, we can't because of this, we can't because of this. And it was actually Sam who said, yeah, fantastic, no problem. And so now if you look at the corner of Tinton House, you've got two lovely signs saying brewery tap this way. And I'd encourage you to remember the brewery tap exists, and it's currently doing delicious pizza. But I wanted, before telling you it's delicious pizza, I thought it was only right that, well, actually myself and Catherine went and tasted it, just to verify that I could tell you it was good pizza, and I can tell you it is delicious pizza. That's all from me.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. So now we're on to the questions. We're opening it out to the floor. So if you could, who's first? So this lady here.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for changing the signs in bus stop N, showing wrong direction for Boston Manor Station and Bloodon Park. Eventually they did that. However, when it rains, because there is gap at the top where the window is glass, the rain comes inside. And those are, it shouldn't be leaking, you know, in the middle. It should be done, and maybe they could have a sign showing when the bus is coming as well, on a bus stop N, Boston Manor Road.
We can certainly get in contact with TfL with regards to that. We can get in contact with TfL with regards to that.
Yes,
Maybe it needs fixing.
Second question would be, how can I get appointment to see a planning officer? They don't give me appointment. They said just go on www. I don't want that. I want someone to speak, explain.
If you speak to one of our officers at the end, and then they can give you the details.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, this lady here, and then we'll go back over to Josh, and then the gentleman at the back.
Yeah, thank you for the updates. So there's been planning applications discussions linked to the use of ferry quays, including temporary consents and conditions about the long-term redevelopment tied to the use of the river access facilities. So we believe that arrangements that allowed commercial and charity use of the rowing outfits to allow school children to use the river have been lost, or we might lose them. So is that true, and what is the council doing to protect this precious service in Brentford? I mean, I know you talked about Team Keen losing their boathouse and losing their service in the area, but if we lose the access to the river, then another service can't take over or can't provide that service to the children. So what are you doing about it? Thank you.
What was the actual question?
So the use of the river for...
At Ferry Wharf?
At Ferry Quays.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes into what I was saying before. So you're talking about that land or the access to that land?
Access to the river. Access to the river for, for paddling and sports.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not... So obviously that Ferry Wharf Peninsula at the moment is still occupied by the Brentford Boat Club, or Brentford Community Boathouse, which is the organisation that manages that land. Now they have a lease from a private landowner.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yes, so there's no planning, so there's no planning obligation that's currently in place that requires that to be used for a particular purpose. We're obviously keen for it to continue if we can. There are other issues with that site, and that's why I mentioned access, because access to the site with the boats, the boat trailers and things has sometimes been a problem. It's a very tricky site in general. It's very constrained, and now there's these new issues that have arisen with the organisations themselves. So it's quite complicated. Some of it, there's nothing that the council can do because it has to be worked out between the parties themselves. But where we can support, we will. But it's and where individual councillors can try to offer support, then we will as well. But I would say at the moment it's a bit unclear how things are going to pan out.
Yeah, but will the access to the river remain for, if anybody wants to use the river for sports?
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether there's something that says there has to be access to the river from that site. I'd hope there is. We can certainly check what that is. I mean, I know there's no intention, for example, that we would allow private flats to be built on that site, for example. I think that would be extremely unlikely. So, yes, good point. We must make sure that we do protect that access to the river, whatever happens to that site.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Lambert.
Sorry, I've got a bit of an update on that because I've talked to Paul Keane today. The lease that he has from a guy called Mohammed, who is the landlord, has been cancelled. He's cancelled it because he doesn't have the money to pay it, and the charity that they're in dispute with refused to pay it. So he's agreed with the landlord to stop that lease. The landlord said, that's great, we'll remarket it. We're thinking of putting paddle boards are the thing at the moment on that area, which I think is a very bad idea. But obviously he's the landlord, he can, subject to planning, he can do whatever he likes with it. So I think we do have to be active about promoting what we want that to be used. And, it has in the past been suggested that we should try and buy that area. And I think we should be looking to do that. It was bought very cheap on the licence because the council did not enforce the planning condition. This was when the Tories were in charge. We did not enforce the condition that there was supposed to be a boathouse built there 25 years ago before my flat was occupied. So that's why we're in this mess.
Thank you, Guy. Can we just go to the young boy, please? The young child.
I think there is a lack of activity for older kids in Brentford. I recently came back from Amsterdam. They have many things, one of which is a skate park. It is very well used, and I think one in Brentford would also be used well as well. I often go to skate parks in other places. They are very well used, but it is a struggle to get to, and I'm not always allowed to go on my own.
That's a very good idea.
Would there be a possibility for a skate park under the flyover in Boston Manor?
Yeah. I cannot say yes, I cannot say no, but that's a very good idea, and we can take it forward with the relevant cabinet members to discuss that. Thank you for your. Who? No. So Josh.
Thank you, Councillor Sharma, and thank you to all the councillors for your updates. It's great to hear some local things moving forward. I would just like to ask one question, which is about the Brentford Dock definition map modification order, and about Brentford local residents being able to access the river there. Forgive my lack of knowledge if there has been an update, but I believe that this was due to be decided upon at the end of 2025, and I haven't seen an update since, so I wanted to ask the relevant councillors for an update.
Yeah, thanks Josh for the question. You're quite right. So there was an application submitted for a map modification order, and that was due at the end of 2025. It has taken longer than expected. I'm a bit frustrated, well, by how long it has taken. I mean, it is down to capacity in the team. We don't have a rights of way officer. Some councils have numerous of these applications all the time, and they have a dedicated person who deals with it. We don't. I think this is the first one we've ever received. So, excuse me, sorry, I just got a bit of thread in my mouth. So that's why it has taken longer. It's there's still some. I think there's been asked for some clarification of some of the evidence that's been submitted, and so on. So yes, you're quite right. It is overdue, and I am pushing for that decision to be made as soon as possible.
Yeah, this gentleman here, then we'll go to yourself, sir.
Thank you. Don Hayward, Windmill Road. Surface water flooding. I would say today the rain was moderate, but all along the A4, the manhole covers ooze rainwater from underneath because I believe all those sewers are blocked. This is the storm or surface water sewers. They're meant to lead towards the Brent, and they should empty into the Brent where the A4 bridge crosses it. With those blocked, and there are several manholes that do it, and I've reported them on Fix My Street, but haven't been resolved. There's one by Carville Hall Park that oozes out water with moderate rain. There's one under the crossing at Windmill Road, and there are more. And I think that is symptomatic of those sewers being blocked, the effect of which means that when there's really heavy rain, all the roads leading in south towards the A4, the water backs up in those, and we get flooding in the street, which when cars pass will go over our doorsteps. I've been banging on about this at a couple of meetings previous, and we haven't got much further forward. It's very difficult getting hold of Thames Water just as a resident who has a water bill, because that's not the contract that requires them to manage the surface water sewers. I believe that contract is with the council, but National Highways are involved because they seem to be in charge of the M4 where a lot of the water comes from. TfL are involved because they are responsible for the A4, and then Thames Water with the sewers underneath. Everyone seems to slope shoulders and say, oh, it's not me or my own problem, and it's very hard as an individual to get anything done about it. And we're subject to this risk all the time of having flooding in our road, overtopping our doorsteps as cars and buses pass. Please can someone get hold of Thames Water by the throat and get them to clean their sewers?
So I'll pick that up with Thames Water and with TfL. I mean, sometimes it's the capacity of the sewers rather than just that they're blocked, but obviously if there are any blockages or things that shouldn't be there, that doesn't help. But yeah, very happy to pick it up.
I have put forward a suggestion for that, which was to put some holding tanks between the piers under the A4, so that as the water comes down off the M4, it can be held and slow released into the sewers below, rather than it all coming down in one flash flood.
Okay, yeah, good idea. We'll have to get National Highways involved as well. I'll pick all that up, and you have my contact details, so an email with some of the details would be helpful as well.
Gentleman with the blue jumper.
Thank you. I've got a comment and a question about street trees in Brentford. If you look at the new development, Ballymore, etc., along the south side of the High Street, there's one tree outside Morrison's, and then there's not a single street tree until you get to Dock Road. the north side of the High Street has been planted well over the last few years, and the trees are starting to mature. So what I don't understand is why, when developers come forward with their schemes, they are not required to contribute to the provision of on-street parking. The council has declared a climate emergency, and we know what street trees do. They cool the air, and they deal with pollution, and also they're attractive in the street. So I really think there ought to be an emphasis on trying to get more street trees in Brentford. You go into Chiswick, and they've got thousands of blooming great big London plane trees. Let's try and green Brentford. The other thing is a question. I was told that council, probably for financial reasons, is not planting any new street trees. And the instruction is that only trees that have died, street trees which have died, will be replaced. I just want to know whether that is the case. I've been told that by an officer, but I don't know.
We've planted 25,000 trees over the last year or so. Not all of them street trees, and some of those are in parks and things. And I appreciate the importance of having street trees, but a lot, a lot of them have been. Any tree that is removed will be replaced in the same place if it can be. Obviously, depending on the reason for the removal, if it just died or was poorly and had to be removed, and a new one can be replaced there, it will be. If it had to be moved because of some change in infrastructure, then a new tree will be planted as close to the original site as possible. So I'm pretty sure that's ongoing. And as I said, we sort of reached out, or overreached, exceeded our target for tree planting over the last 4 years. I think because of what you've stressed about the importance of street trees and the shade it provides in that urban environment, rather than, we obviously good to have new little forests and trees in parks and things, but I think it would be good for us to set ourselves some targets for street trees in particular, or at least break down where we want to see trees and understand why for shading purposes and so on. So I think I'm not sure exactly who told you what. It's just like we've come to the end of the current programme, so we're not doing any more for the moment, but there will be a new programme.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say you're absolutely right. Street trees are so important. I think, and as Catherine said, we're a big fan of trees. We've planted 25,000 this year. We're going to continue to plant more. In terms of the Ballymore development, it's been going on so long. The original planning permission, I think, was 2014 or 2015. That was obviously half a decade before we declared a climate emergency. And what I can say in terms of planning applications as they come through now, there is very stringent demands, not just on trees, but also there's got to be a biodiversity net gain on every site. They've got to get a certain score on the urban greening factor. Officers have explained it to me how it works about 4 times, and I still don't understand. And then there's also things like sustainable urban drainage systems, which is basically big areas that can retain moisture to sort of stop flooding. So you're absolutely right. Our priorities are aligned with that. Unfortunately, don't have a time machine to go back to 2014 and make Ballymore do it then. But you're absolutely right. That's a great point, thank you.
So just one thing to add to what Dan said about, you know, certain ways planning applications that might have been approved in the past, and we want to make sure that we do better in future. Next week at Cabinet we'll be discussing the Golden Mile investment framework, and that's been published today or yesterday, or I can't remember when it was published. Anyway, yeah. So that's about a lot of development, you know, a lot of new building, a lot of new homes, a lot of new businesses and things, but built into that will be a requirement for a lot of greening and improving that area as well, from a nature perspective. So it's not just about new homes and new jobs and opportunities, but also about improving the natural environment as it interacts with buildings. And obviously we need to make sure that includes a lot of trees. Guy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, about new developments, commercial developments, there is, in my experience, there is always a requirement for trees to be, or some other, usually trees. What is not necessarily done very well is that is enforced. And I will try, I mean, I've got printmaker's yard going up next to where I live, which is not in my ward actually, it's in Syon ward. But there's quite a lot of trees supposed to be going in there. I will be very aware of that. And ward councillors should be, but also residents can nudge us if we're not being as careful as we should be. The other thing I'd say, if you've got a street that you think needs trees, talk to your local councillor. Certainly I got quite a lot planted, for example, mainly in Marina's ward, annoyingly, but they were arranged when they were in my ward. And Hounslow Highways have some capacity to either replace or to put in new trees. And if you press them, they will certainly do it. They're quite keen to do it, actually.
Thank you, Guy. So we're getting close to it being, it's quarter past 9, so we're going to take a couple more questions, and then we're going to go on to the other details of the agenda. So, gentleman at the back.
Could I make a suggestion that trees are very nice, but a number of our pavements are uneven as a result of tree roots, and this is one of the biggest problems. Trees and pavements don't always go together, and I think, you know, if we are going to encourage new trees, we've got to plant trees that either don't have a wide root spread or are designed in such a way that they don't cause the pavements to go up and down, because I think it's fair to say we have got a large length of pavements in Brentford and elsewhere which are very uneven, but because the difference in distance between different pavement slabs is not sufficient, the council won't relay them. And I think this is quite a serious matter, particularly with people who are poor at walking, and uneven pavements could cause accidents and then claims against the council for injury subsequently.
Thank you, that's noted. Thank you. Oh, final 2 questions.
Thank you. Sorry to follow up with another question. So it's been great tonight to hear from Sam and to hear from the councillors about the new things and the investment in Brentford, and absolutely investing in the future of the area is critically important. But what I'd just like to understand a bit is about what the council are doing to support existing businesses, and about what they're doing to support not just the people that may be moving into Brentford, but the people that have been living in Brentford and Syon for a long time. You know, recently there was a local publican from the high street. He posted quite a frustrated video online regarding, you know, I appreciate the council aren't responsible for all of the national decisions being made, but I just wanted to understand on behalf of some of the people that have been in this area for a long time, what are the council doing to support existing and businesses that have been propping up and supporting this area for a long time?
Speak. Yeah, okay. Yeah, can do. Yeah, so we do have a sort of, department in the council that can support businesses. We work closely with the Hounslow Chambers of Commerce, or West London Chambers of Commerce, as it is now, to support businesses. And we have programs that help people to get established in business and grow their business. So there are those programs in place. I mean, obviously, where there are difficulties, if people have businesses are having difficulties either with paying business rates or council rates or whatever, then we can encourage them to talk to us so we can see, you know, what the issues are, and it's not always possible. And we do know that a lot of businesses have gone under, particular, you know, high streets in particular are not doing well. That is a countrywide phenomenon, and obviously we haven't been immune to that here. So so there is some support that can be provided. It's obviously it's not going to save every business, but we do want to make sure that that we have a thriving business community, and so there are certainly things that we can signpost people to, if not help directly.
And as Scott said, go down to the pub, have a pint.
Yeah,
it's a
we
usage.
need to use our businesses to keep them.
And this will be the last question for the open forum. Thank you.
Hello. In regards to your Hounslow Green Investment Fund, could you provide an update on the performance of the first round of the funding? And also, plus what projects in Brentford is this fund planned to be allocated to? And also, when will the next investment round be open to residents?
No, thanks. I don't have that information at the moment about what that's been invested in. But as soon as we have it, we'll make it available via the council website. In terms of the next round of funding, I think it's going to be the next raise. Sorry, that's what you were asking. I think it will be post-election.
Thank you, Catherine. And we'll now move on to the next part of the agenda, which is the minutes of September's area forum and any matters arising. So do we agree to the minutes of the last? Thank you. And also in the previous meeting, we had, you'll see on your chairs, with regards to the neighbourhood seal, there was a fair few questions that was requested and asked for. So we have done a printout of the neighbourhood seal allocation for Brentford and Syon. So I'm hoping that you'll be happy with that, and that's been addended onto the.
But that's also online.
That's also online as well, and there, yeah, and also there was. I'd like to thank Brentford Voice for the questions that they had sent in previously, and they have their responses as well, and that's also online as well that you are able to see. The next on item 6 is urgent business. There is no urgent business that I have been made aware of, or any urgency, and the date of our next scheduled meeting is on the 9th of March 2026. Thank you so much for your time this evening. As you can see, that there is a scan me. I'll leave this to the end and I do forget. This is your feedback form. So you can take your picture. If you take a picture of it now on your camera phones, if you have one, you can do it. Or you can speak to our officers here who are able to support you with a paper copy. But like I said, thank you so much for your time this evening and Happy New Year.